Hi, my name is Claire Shipley, and this is my game-based learning project for my course in MED 7815. And I chose to do my game-based learning activity on a 2-digit addition review for my second grade class. And the Common Core state standard that this aligns to is a mathematical content standards in numbers in base 10, and it says to add up to 4 2-digit numbers using strategies based on place value and properties of operations. So being that this is a review, my second graders have already been introduced to two-digit addition, and this will kind of cover the strategies we use to solve two-digit addition equations, and will incorporate a game-based activity using the online application Kahoot. Now, to start off, we will review our mathematical vocabulary. So on the smartboard, this Google slide presentation will be presented for my students, and we have 5 different vocabulary words. So I will pose these words to my students and ask the questions, what do you know about each word? Let's come up with a classroom-friendly definition for each. So our vocabulary words are addition, two-digit number, ones place, tens place, and hundreds place. Now these are all words that my students have been exposed to many times, and we've defined many times. And coming up with classroom-friendly definitions are definitely something that I find important for my second graders, as their vocabulary is often not caught up with the definitions in the curriculum book. So we would do this first together to review some important terms. And then next, we have our essential question. So in the middle of the web is our essential question. It asks, what are the ways I can add within 1,000? Now you'll notice attached to this web are 3 separate circles branching out, and those represent the 3 different 2-digit addition strategies we have learned together already. So after I pose this question to my students, I will have some of them share the different methods for solving 2-digit addition within 1,000, and we will place those answers in the bubbles. Okay, and now it is time for the warm-up activity. So this comes before the Kahoot. So I have the directions on the smartboard. It says step 1, everyone get out all of your whiteboard materials. So these would be your whiteboards, your markers, and your erasers. Step 2, I will pair you with a partner to work with. So I've already pre-assigned partners for my students. Step 3, you and your partner will work together for 10 minutes to solve the next 5 2-digit addition equations. Now, I will also preface this by saying that they may use whichever strategy they find most comfortable. And then step 4, after the 10 minutes is up, I will call up volunteers to solve each equation and explain their mathematical reasoning to the class. Now, at this point, I would take any questions. And once all questions are answered, we would move on to the warm-up activity. So I would present these 5 two-digit addition equations on the smartboard, and then you'll see in the right-hand corner I have a timer, 10-minute timer, that I would then play and allow my students 10 minutes to solve all of these equations on their whiteboards. And during this 10-minute time, I would circulate the room, and this would be additional time for me to answer any questions regarding solving these questions before we move on to the Kahoot, so that my students are very clear on how the mathematical process works in solving 2-digit addition equations. Now, once the timer is up, I will call on partner pairs to come up and use the smartboard pens, which they're very fluent in using, as we use them a lot. And they'll come up and not only solve an equation, but explain to the class their thinking, so just like they're a teacher. Okay, and once that is all complete, it is Kahoot time. So this is the game-based learning activity in my lesson. So on the smartboard, I'll be presenting the following directions. It says step 1, on your desk, have out your Chromebooks and whiteboard materials. Step 2, log on to kahoot.it. Now this is something that my students have already bookmarked at the top of their Chrome applications. So it's often something my students can just click on, and they're very familiar with using Kahoot as we've used it many times before. Now once they're on kahoot.it, I have the game pin up on the board for step 3. And then step 4, after you put in your game pin, type in your name. Step 5, they'll wait until the entire class is entered and wait for me to start the Kahoot. And step 6, I'll kind of go over what we're doing with the Kahoot and how they should be handling solving the questions on the Kahoot. So I'll explain to them that independently they'll be using their whiteboards to solve each equation. And at the end of the Kahoot, there will be 3 winners from our Kahoot podium to choose from our classroom prize jar. Okay, now we can kind of function over to, this is kahoot.it. So this would be seen on my students' screens, and I've already typed in the code. So this is what they would type in on their screens. They would click enter. Wait for a moment for it to load. Okay. And then you see 2-digit addition, hosted by me. This is my Kahoot. It says enter a nickname, so I'll put my name, Claire. Press OK, go. And then you can see the Kahoot is now starting. And each question is a quiz question. So I'm going to turn off the volume on this so it's not distracting. Maybe I could even do it this way. So each question's a quiz question, and they're either given a 2-digit addition problem that they just simply solve, or they're given a word problem that we've also worked with for 2-digit addition. So they would do this on their whiteboards in whatever way they find most comfortable, whatever strategy. We talked about 3. And then once they have an answer, they would click on the appropriate answer, and then they would figure out if they got it right or not. And that is how the game basically works. So I'm going to log out of this now and go back to the slides. Now there are 10 Kahoot questions for them to answer. And once the Kahoot is over, like I said, at the very end, there's a podium of our first, second, and third place winners that Kahoot has embedded for me, which is a really cool feature, and my students really enjoy kind of unveiling the podium and seeing the winners. And so we'll do that. Once the winners are announced, they will get to choose from the prize jar. Now, to conclude the lesson, my students will be given an exit ticket. So this exit ticket is just on a piece of paper that I've created for them, and it has one 2-digit addition equation on it. So on the board, I'll pose these directions. It says step 1, on your desk, just have a pencil as I pass out the exit tickets. Step 2, you're going to work independently to solve the 2-digit addition problem using any method they prefer. And then step 3, when they're finished, they're going to turn it into the finished work bin. Now this will kind of act as a formative assessment for me to see if and how effective that game-based learning activity was for my students.